MBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is MBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what is poppin' with you? It's your boy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks season is over. It's done. It's no longer here. But we're going to reflect on it. Talk about what we enjoyed, what we didn't enjoy, what we liked, what we didn't like. I guess I just said the same thing over, just using different terms. But we're going to talk about it. Reflect on some of the players, their performance. And, of course, later on, in a couple of weeks, as the weeks come and go, we'll really break down each player on this team. Should we keep them? Should we dump them? All that good stuff. We'll really break it down. Okay? We'll do some Coach's Corner. We'll have some draft shows. We got a whole lot of content lined up between now and the beginning of the season. So don't worry, we ain't going nowhere. The Knicks may be on vacation, but nothing but Knicks is not on vacation. Trust that. Let's get on over here, man. We got a panel. We got Cornerstone Kevin in the building. We got Andy here. And we're just going to reflect on the season and, reflect on the season. Cornerstone, what's popping with you, man? How you feeling?
Hey, Sim. Salute to my man, brother Andy, and salute to my brothers and sisters on the chat. After having a day to think about it, I truly, truly, truly enjoyed this season. There were so many times when we were down and out, and we came up and rose to the occasion. I appreciate the fight, the heart that this team's shown all season. And we can only go but up from here. For us getting into the playoffs, well, what was left of it, we did get here, and you got to be in it to win it. So we were here. Unfortunately, we didn't win it. So, yeah, man, let's just keep building from here, and let's go.
All right. I mean, we got a lot to get to, a lot to talk about when it comes to this team and this season, because it was definitely a magical season, one that none of us really expected. But nevertheless, it happened. And so there's a lot to break down and talk about it and kind of figure out where the team goes from here. Andy, what about you, man?
Yeah, what up, guys? What up? What up to the chat? What up to you two guys? Listen, it's like you guys said, the season was unexpected, surprisingly positive. The playoffs, not that positive. Like you said, we're gonna chop it up, dissect it to pieces, position by position, player by player, decision by decision, mostly, right? So we're gonna have fun with it. I'm glad that we're gonna have more positive material than previous seasons, right? Because 2-3 years back, it was hard to even rewatch these replays, highlights, whatever. From this season, we can pick a couple of good games that we played and take stuff from that and work through it. So I'm happy that I'm going to be a part of it, and I'm going to be able to try to look through it and put in my thoughts around it.
You really don't need your thoughts. You really don't.
We need everybody's thoughts, Cornerstone. Everybody's thoughts, man. Everybody's thoughts. When you think about this season, you have to believe that it started way back when Tom Thibodeau was hired. And I know right now, everybody's, there's a lot of people upset with Tom Thibodeau and the moves that he either did do or did not do. The adjustments that maybe he did not make. There's a lot of people upset with him, and rightfully so. The Knicks were eliminated. They played a very bad series against Atlanta. most of us expected them to at least play better. If not win the series, at least play better. It didn't happen. And there's enough blame to go around. But in retrospect, when you really stop and think about this season and this team, you've got to be happy with what they did. They ended up 10 games above 500.
Yep.
With a roster that most people expected to be, just trash. And another season maybe looking at the lottery. Most people expected that. And instead, they proved that they were worth something. They didn't have enough firepower. They didn't have enough playoff experience. They didn't have enough basketball IQ to make it through the first round of the playoffs, but they built a foundation. And that, to me, is probably the most important thing that we can take away from this season. Am I disappointed? Yes. Did I expect more versus the Hawks? Yes, I did. Do I think we played a terrible series? We played an awful series. An awful series. But do I think we gained something this season? I think we gained a lot. Right? I think Julius Randle gained a lot. And the playoff series is going to serve as another obstacle for him to climb in his career development. I think RJ Barrett learned a lot. I think Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin got that experience of the playoffs, the experience of playing in important games down the stretch early in their career.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important because they had to go through the preparation that Tom Thibodeau puts forth, when you're fighting for a playoff spot. They had to go into these high-pressure games and understand the atmosphere and how you perform during those type of basketball games and some of the stretches that the Knicks had to go on to get there. They had to go through all of the preparation methods that Tom Thibodeau and the coaching staff put forth. Of course, RJ Barrett, went through those same things. I think for Derrick Rose, it was a positive year. Even though he didn't come to the Knicks until halfway through, he proved to him, I don't want to say himself, I think he probably already knew, but at least to the NBA, that he can be a very important cog on a good team. Guys like Reggie Bullock, Nerlens Noel, they proved that they could be important cogs on a good team. We also saw in this playoff series that we need a guy like Mitchell Robinson, right? And throughout the season, it was always, do we need Mitchell Robinson? Yes. Do we need Mitchell Robinson? Nope. Nerlens Noel's doing the job. All the time. It was always, we do need him, we don't need him. I think now we understand we really do need Mitchell Robinson. His presence would have made a big difference on that team in this series, I think. So we learned a lot about this team and who we are throughout this series. And I think throughout the season, we learned a lot about the front office and how they are going to approach building this basketball team, the patience that they might approach. And I know there's a lot of people that say, see, if the Knicks would have made a move at the deadline,
Yep.
They would have done better. And maybe so. Maybe we would have done better. Maybe we would have gotten to the second round. Doesn't necessarily mean that it still would have been the right move. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think this front office still exercised restraint. I think they moved analytically, strategically, and I trust them moving forward. But there's a lot to get to, and we're going to rewind and go all the way back to the beginning. But anything that you want to add with what I just said?
Go ahead.
If it's me, I was surprised about the result of the regular season, us getting that kind of amount of wins, and I am a little bit worried that it might backfire on the Knicks. because going into next season, there's no way fans are gonna think we're gonna get a win or two less, no matter who we sign, who we re-sign, who we let go and sign someone else. I don't think Knicks fans are gonna thinking, listen, we're not going back to 35 wins a season. They're gonna want more, and the bar is raised now, and I fear that this even if we resign most of the players, just add a player or two, might be not that easy to get a better result from a season standpoint. I don't think we even if we sign a great player, a point guard playmaker, which we were talking about already, a Kyle Lowry type or whatever. No, we got to remember that we were the 4th seed in the East, and I don't see the Nets, the 76ers, the Bucks being in reverse mode, and that they're going to tear those teams down. So, I don't think we can repeat the 4th seed for the next season. But, it all depends what moves the, Leon Rose, the Scott Perry, and the rest of the guys going to do. But just to add, I don't think their job is that easy. When you think about it, I understand we have the cap space. Most of the contract expiring, so you can clean house. You can sign your guys, but still, this is not going to be an easy job for them to complete the squad that Tibbs is going to run. And we're not locked in. Not only to the playoffs, but not to the top 6, top 8, whatever. So it's a tough job ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Andy. I was talking about this with Sim off air. I said that the front office is on the clock right now, between now and August, as far as doing back channels, trying to talk with free agents, with coming here. And when I mean free agents, I mean like your superstars.
Sim,
like,
sorry, Kev. I think we're muted. The people in the chat.
No, I was muted. You guys are good.
Okay.
Okay. So my question to you is: do you believe that they are on the clock now, or are you going to give them another year?
Well, for me, I think it's not like they're going to get fired after the season if they make back moves. But, I just want to point out that even we have the most salary cap available from the league, least contract sign, whatever options, we have the biggest variety of scenarios that we can go. We can trade, we can sign and stuff. That doesn't mean every move we make is going to be a good move. Mm-hmm. So we can also sign a guy and, get burned by the signing, right?
Right.
So it's just, because, Knicks fans are like, oh, we got this kind of salary cap, the amount we can sign anyone we want, just throw the money at them. Even if we signed a great player, it doesn't mean that we're going to be, only going ahead and get better. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest possibility, and it should be like that. But let's not act like, you can hit save and reload the game and, go back to the offseason and just make the other signings, right? So just to point that out, it's not like we only have, the easiest way route, to get better on this team. We can also screw up a signing and get stuck in the salary cap. Well, whatever move we make, we got to think twice, 3 times, 10 times, and go through all the possibilities we can do.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's go back quickly, and then we'll come forward and talk about how we move in the off season and things. Like I said earlier, I think everything really started with Tom Thibodeau, right? He was hired. Mm-hmm. He started placing call, I'm sure, to players, and one of the first calls was to Julius Randle. when everybody thought that Julius Randle was definitely going to be traded, and I still think there's a lot of people that believe Julius Randle was going to be on the block. I don't think Tom Thibodeau ever thought that. He called Julius Randle and told Julius Randle, I want you to be my point forward. And explain to Julius Randle everything that he needed him to do. And Julius Randle went to work. Right? Came in amazing shape. I'm pretty sure he probably put in a call to RJ Barrett. Anybody else that was already under contract. Let him know, like, hey, this is what I expect from you when you get here. I understand we're in a pandemic and those type of things, but this is what I expect. And those guys answered the call. They came back in shape and ready to go. And it was because of the demand from Tom Thibodeau and also his reputation in the league. So I'm going to start with you, Kev, and just, really quick, 30, 45 seconds. The impact that Tom Thibodeau had on the players on this team from the time that he was hired to now.
Oh, it was huge. It was huge. When they were in the bubble, and training with those guys, even though some of those guys weren't on the team when we started, just his presence, and also not just him, but the rest of the coaching staff. They really were preparing these guys, and you kind of saw it in the first preseason game. I mean, they were doing stuff that you hadn't seen at a Knicks team in a long while. Now, yeah, they lost the next game and everything, but still, they were planting those seeds, and those seeds were growing within the once the regular season started. He had some bumps and bruises and everything, but overall, his message was it was spread throughout the whole season. So that was pretty much it. That's what I took away from him. And I knew that we were going to have more wins than what we've had in previous years because of him, because of Thibodeau, because of what he's about. So That's it.
All right. Andy?
I got three things here. First thing, when I heard that he called and he wanted to, make Julius his point forward, I got, Fizdale all over.
I can't hear him.
Look like we lost your sound, Andy.
Yeah, he's lost your sound, Andy.
I think we lost your sound. Your microphone went out or something like that. In the meantime, while Andy's getting his sound back, I think Tom Thibodeau, just his ability to set standards meant the world for this basketball team. The ability to set standards. I think he's a coach that does not have a fear of holding players accountable, even the best players on the team. And I think that means a lot for any basketball team. And then, of course, the expectations, right? He's a coach that expects the team to win basketball games. He expects the team to play as hard as they can play. He expects the team to come in prepared and be in shape. He expects players to study. John Wallace was on the show and he talked about when Jeff Van Gundy was the coach of the Knicks and how Jeff Van Gundy had this expectations that he knew the scouting report, or all the players knew the scouting report of everyone that was in the book. And if you didn't know that scouting report, you just didn't see the floor. And I think what Tom Thibodeau brings to this team held true. The same things held true. And I think those things are what really impacted this team. The standards that he set, the expectations, and the ability to hold players accountable. Those three things, in my opinion, really set this team up to be as successful as they were this season. Let's see if we got your sound back. Andy, can you hear me?
Yeah, 1 2 1 2.
There you go. You good?
Cool. If I can go back, to the points I had, first thing, when I was thinking that Julius is going to be the point forward, I saw Fizdale before my eyes again, and the whole offensive schemes and stuff like that, running back. But then again, I thought that Tibbs is one of those coaches, that those old school coaches, right? Just like they have in Europe, that whatever the coach says, it goes down. It's not like any other way, right? Because in the NBA, like Guillermo always tells me, it's a player league. Players pick a coach to coach them, right? And that's a fair assessment. But I don't like it that way. Whenever team I was playing, whatever the coach said, that was it. You didn't discuss it. So I'm happy Thibs rallied all the troops, all the players, and we didn't have any kind of a situation through the whole season.
Right.
Nobody was upset. Nobody was, causing problems. At least we didn't know of a situation like that happening. So, that was all cool with me as far as Tibbs goes. We knew that he's going to be a little bit stubborn. He's going to play, we were talking about him playing the short rotations, but he, expanded it to 10. If it was his will, we're probably going to discuss it. If he didn't want to play 8 guys through the whole season, but maybe Leon told him to play the rookies that he chose. That's also a topic that we might talk about. But I'm happy about the Tibbs hire. I'm happy about his change of the culture of the whole New York Knicks team and the aura around the Garden. Even his stubbornness bite him probably in the behind in the playoffs, but that's a whole topic for another story and another chat probably.
Yeah, and it is, and we're gonna break down a lot throughout this offseason, just talking about Tom Thibodeau, the team, what they need to improve, how Tom Thibodeau can improve, how the players can improve, all of those type of things. Now, throughout the season, right from the beginning of the season, the Knicks were challenged, right? They were challenged with the schedule. Everyone looked at the schedule and said the Knicks had the toughest schedule in the league. So right from the beginning, this team had to be focused, and they seemed to rise to that challenge. And I think part of it is because of Tom Thibodeau and the way that he continuously had the team prepared, right? They were always prepared to face whatever challenges were ahead of them. Maybe not so much in the playoffs, though. I will say that. But for the most part, throughout the season, they were always prepared to attack their challenges. And I think it came down to the consistency that Tom Thibodeau had. The preparation tactics, the standards, everything that we mentioned earlier. We've seen him have to, they started off the season, they lost their first couple of games, then they had a big win against Milwaukee. Then they went on a little bit of a winning streak. I think it was a 3-game winning streak. They were 5-3 to begin the season, and everybody was excited, like, wow, this team is 5-3 to begin the season. We haven't, how long has it been since they've been 5-3 to begin the season? Then they hit a little losing streak, right? And they stay below 500. They stay close, but below 500 for a little while. And what we as fans continued to say is, if they could just stay there, and then try to make a push during the end of the season after they, maybe get some players at the trade deadline and so on. And they did just that. They didn't pick up players at the trade deadline, but they stayed close and finally got themselves back to 500. Then they went a little bit above 500, right? And then they fell back down. But they kept these goals in sight, and they, small goals. We talked about small goals all season long. Get to 500, then let's get 3 games above 500. Let's get a 4-game win streak in. And finally, during that 9-game win streak, they seemed to accomplish everything. And they accomplished everything. Derrick Rose, though, was such a huge part in everything that the Knicks did in accomplishing all of these goals. his experience, his play. And he's kind of, him and Taj Gibson, they were like Tom Thibodeau's voice to the team. I want you to talk a little bit about what Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson really meant to this team. And if you think the Knicks would have accomplished what they did accomplish without Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson this season. I'll start with you, Andy.
Well, if you ask me, the addition of those two vets, and not only vets, if you would, have to put a tag on a Tibbs player, you would have to, put a tab on Rose and on Taj, right? They were playing with Tibbs on several teams. So it's like a package deal. When you got Tibbs, you got to get Taj and you got to get Rose, right? And Taj would probably be called the minor deal with the package, but we already called his name before even Tibbs got here, right? I don't know if you recall it, but in the offseason, I was thinking we're going to keep Taj for sure because he was that big man vet for a Mitchell Robinson, for any other, power forward center, young guy that he would, help develop. So as far as that goes, and, getting D-Rose, probably, even Tibbs asked for it. He saw that D-Rose wasn't happy in Detroit. And to be true, getting him for a Dennis Smith Jr. and a pick, that was a steal. That was a steal. And, we already saw what happened from down there, right? And D-Rose mentioned in one of the interviews that, because probably players were looking up to him from basically from day one. He said that he came into a team with cohesion, with chemistry and stuff, and he didn't want to disturb it. He was waiting for his, time so he can, then, put his, things and his ideas and his, from his experience, how to handle these kind of, schemes and tactics and whatever. Those two guys, of course, were the connection between Tibbs and between the players, because probably it was like that. If Tibbs wanted to know something, he didn't ask, on a forum. He asked, Taj, listen, is there any whispers in the locker room? D-Rose, is there any whispers in the locker? And the other way around too. If players thought that maybe, quickly said like, listen, I would like to shoot from here, from there, but I'm not going to ask the coach because he's going to bench me. So maybe he went through D-Rose. They went through the practice on it. He made a couple of threes there. And that's why Tibbs wasn't furious with those kind of shots, because I'm not going to lie, those shots from quickly, not only he's a rookie, those weren't exactly perfect shots that they want a guy to take. And no matter if he's a vet or a rookie, but if he's willing, if he's going to make those, you're going to try to, put him into the offense and let him go. But, if we were losing games and he would be taking those shots, that might have been another story. So I think, those guys were that cushion between the coaching staff and the players, right? And you got to have that in a team, no matter if you're good or if you're bad. That's like a middle ground, and it helps out the whole team and the contact, the information flow, whatever you want to call it. It's really a thing that each team signs vets just to do that. So they say how the rules of the league are, the unwritten rules, the written ones, whatever. You got to have vets on a team, and those guys perfectly fit the Tibbs scheme, and they know Tibbs for like probably 2 decades now. So
yeah. Big shout out to Brian Carter. Thank you for the super chat. He said, "Can we please give Taj the Udonis Haslam lifetime contract?
Yeah,
he's that vet
absolutely.
I want around the team at all times, and he's earned it."
Oh, absolutely.
And Flo Hypnotic, thank you for the super chat. He said, "We have to bring back Taj and D-Rose. Great for the locker room culture." Kev, and the other super chats that's out there, I'm going to get to you. Give me some time. I'm definitely going to get to you. Kev, do you agree? Taj and D-Rose?
Oh, 110%. I was echoing his presence before the season even began, when that whole free agency was going on in the summer. I was thinking to myself, why isn't this guy on this team? And it's just amazing how long it took for him to get back on here. You have to keep him regardless. He wants to be here. He doesn't want to go anyplace else. Even if he only plays like 5 minutes, he wants to be here. So I'm all for that, and I'm all for Rose as well. These two guys were the perfect complement to our young team, and it's just a shame that that they got here later on in life. I would have loved to have had these guys, in their semi prime and everything, but it is what it is. So yes, indeed, you've got to, if there are any two veterans that you have to have back, it's those two.
Let me ask you, do you think that D Rose and Taj, and let me get to a phone call when I ask this question. I'm gonna ask this question and see what the caller has to say. Do you think D Rose and Taj burnt out at the end? So let me get to the caller, then I'm going to come to you, Kev. All right,
sure.
Caller,
yep, sure.
You are live. Okay. What's popping with you?
Yo, Blackest Time. What's good, son?
What's good with you, my brother? How you feeling, man? How you feeling?
Oh, man. I'm all right, man. I'm all right. I had to let it soak in. You know what I mean? Let me start off, before I answer your question, let me just start off with, I've been optimistic all year, and they still exceeded my expectations. So I'm not as disappointed as I would have normally been. Excuse me. I was calling for Boston. I was calling for Miami. I still think those matchups would have been better for us. I didn't like us going into that series being the favorite. I didn't like us going into the series maybe with a big head, knowing that we beat them 3 times. And the matchup itself, I always felt was dangerous just because, besides Capella, everybody on that team can shoot. And they was dangerous. But I take my hat off to them. Your question was about if they were burnt out, D Rose and Taj. I mean, I can say this. They gave it their all. Those two guys gave it their all. Ultimate effort, ultimate vets. I don't know if they were burnt out, but I do feel, this is where some of the disappointment comes in, because they gave it their all. I'm not going to say other guys didn't give it their all, but they didn't produce the way I would have liked to go alongside with these two guys, giving their all.
Right.
Some positives that I took away is definitely our rookies. They didn't seem to be fazed by being in the playoffs. I think they were put in a tight position because most of the time they got in the game, we weren't up. So, their window wasn't, they didn't get to go in there and play just free-spirited, you know what I mean? Everything was a pressure situation for them. And at times they showed improve. So that was definitely encouraging.
Yeah, it was really encouraging, Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin. And, Tom Thibodeau gave him, he didn't give him a lot of time. He was pretty short with them. I think next year, if they're both on the team next year, he'll trust them more. He'll give them more time. And they'll perform. I mean, they performed well this year. They'll perform even better next year, assuming that we make the playoffs. I was definitely impressed with our rookies.
Absolutely.
Definitely impressed.
Absolutely.
And you look and we were talking about Taj and D Rose, the oldest team players on the team, and then you talk about our rookies, and they all came and showed up.
Yes.
Right? Our oldest guys and the rookies, they showed up.
Uh-huh.
The guys in between, hit and miss.
It's as if they were too dumb, or too green to understand the pressures they were under. And then the vets, they've been there before, so it didn't phase them.
Right.
Our middle guys and Randall, the Barretts, the guys that we were expecting to to be the guys, they seem to have been affected by the by the playoffs, by the bright lights.
Yeah. And in some ways you can expect it, especially with R.J. Barrett, because even though he's in his second year, he's still younger than Emmanuel Quickly. You know what I mean? So especially with R.J. Barrett, you could expect that, the bright lights would be a lot for him, and he'd have to get used to it. Let's say that. Julius Randle, I guess you didn't know what to expect. I think a lot of us, especially Steph, was saying before the playoffs even started, when we talked about giving Julius Randle a big extension or, what he's signing for, she kept saying, we need to see him in the playoffs first. I need to see how he reacts to the playoffs. And this is not to say that he's always going to react this way to the playoffs. Julius Randle has shown throughout his career that he'll get better. And I fully expect him to get better when he comes back next year. Whether he's the best player on the team or not, I expect him to get better in the playoffs. I don't care about the regular season. In the playoffs, I expect him to get better. And, of course, a lot of that is going to be determined by who's on his team. If he has people better than him on the team, he may have the same numbers that he had this year in the playoffs, statistically, not percentage-wise, but statistically, and we look at it as good performances. Right. But if he is the man, if he is the guy, then these statistics aren't going to work. So a lot depends on, the way we view his performance is going to depend on who's on the team too.
Hey, Simon, let me say something real quick before I get off about Randall. It's kind of a question, so let me get your answer before I go. But do you think what he dealt with overall last year would be bigger than what he dealt with in these 5 games in the playoffs? And before you answer, let me just give my take, and because I feel like what he dealt with last year in its entirety and coming back from it, to me that's motivating and encouraging. That I feel like he can do it again and do it even better. Mm-hmm. I don't think these 5 games are gonna have the same effect mentally than what he dealt with overall last year. It's probably going to be more of a disappointment for him, but as far as the people going after him, people wanting him gone, everything else. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think that, we've seen some people that want him gone, but you're always going to have those people. But I think the majority of Knicks fans, he's proved to them and has won them over because of the fact that he's been able to get better and put in the work to get better. I think these 5 games are a microcosm of last season, just on a different level, right? On a different level. Last season, it was, okay, you're the man on this team. Watch what we do. We're going to make you look bad, right? We're going to test you out to see if you can actually be the man. So then he came back and he proved that he could be the man in the regular season. And then in the playoffs, it's like, oh, okay, so you're the man. Now let's see what you can do in the playoffs. And you kind of seen the same thing in the playoffs, and he didn't know, he's never been there before. He didn't know how to react. He didn't know how to respond. He didn't know what he should do. I think next year he'll understand it better. He'll have a different mentality entering the playoffs. He may not be as nervous entering the playoffs next year because he's been there before. And I think all of that makes a difference. It may not make a difference for everybody. Trae Young, his first time in the playoffs. Okay, you know what? He was able to handle it better than Julius Randle. That's the way life works. That's the way human beings work. Some people need a different path.
Yeah. And Trae Young's been a star, throughout his career, throughout college. He's used to that. Everything falls on him. You know what I mean? He's used to that. So I expected that from Trae Young, 100%. if anything, I honestly expected bigger performances, or like I said, in the previous one, us to try to force him to go for 50 to beat us, go for 60 to beat us. But yeah, he's always been under that bright light. Julius, like you said, is still a learning curve, and I'm proud of our guys, including him. I'm proud of our staff. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to you, Sim. I love all you guys. We're gonna get back and be better next year. And Sim, when you get a chance, hit me up or let me know what your schedule is looking at.
Yeah, I got you.
Anthony, you love me. Anthony, you love me too. Anthony, you love me too.
I love you too, Kev.
He said everybody on the panel, Kev. Kev is looking for the personal one-on-one attention right now. Come on, man.
Shout out to the chat.
You're not the youngest child, though.
Yo, appreciate you, Tony. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I think Julius Randle is going to be just fine. There's going to be a lot of people calling for his head, and a lot of people that are saying, oh, I told you this and I told you that. But, with Julius Randle, he's proved that, he's going to grow and continue to grow. And I think you got to let him do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, Sim,
you got to let him do it. You got to let him grow.
Yeah,
and see where it goes from there.
I think what it is, Sim, is that people are kind of shocked because of what they saw the entire season, and then to not have that manifest into the playoffs, these 5 games in the playoffs. I think that's just a shock that people are, even myself, I'm still in shock about, what we just went through. But I think that's what people, are thinking, and that's why they're having, in my opinion, I think that's why they're having these doubts, whether it's the extension he's getting or whether he can do it, in the playoffs. I think because of what happened, I think that's why people are having these doubts.
Well, of course, people are having those doubts because of what happened. Jam Rock, 1975 Jam Rock, thank you for the super chat. He said Stephen A. Smith said on First Take that he texted a number of players and they still don't want to come because they don't believe they can play with Julius Randle. And he also said, again, Jan Rock, thank you for the super chat. He said they said he believes he's the number one and his ego. You know what? Stephen A. Smith says a lot of stuff. We'll see.
With a grain of salt. Grain of salt, right?
I will let Leon Rose do what Leon Rose does.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We'll let Leon Rose do what Leon Rose does. Players in the NBA don't make it to where they are without having some kind of an ego.
Yep.
You better believe that. Some kind of an ego.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
Right? Players saying, oh, I don't want to play with Julius Randle. I mean, Julius Randle, this is his first time being in this position. They have no idea if this is what he's going to remain. I mean, come on. Julius Randle was a role player up until this year. Mm-hmm. So that's preposterous. Whatever the word is. Preposterous. I can't even say the word. Right? That's dumb. Let me just say.
Yes, dumb.
Dumb.
Yeah, dumb.
That's dumb.
Yeah, it is.
Julius Randle was a role player up until this point.
It's ludicrous.
Ludicrous.
Yes. Yes, Savvy.
He was a role player up until this point. So, let Stephen A. Smith say whatever he's saying. I don't, whatever. I barely ever see Stephen A. Smith predict anything.
Nope.
Reflecting on the season, though, I do want to ask this question, and this is good by Sandy Villario. He said, "Do you guys think that the loss of Mike Woodson changed the offensive flow of the team?" He said, "I noticed the change."
See,
I certainly think that Mike Woodson's departure hurt the team.
In the mind?
Just his there's a calmness about Mike Woodson. There's a I've been there before-ness about Mike Woodson that I think rubs off on the players. And not that Tom Thibodeau hasn't been there, but Mike Woodson's delivery is very different than Tom Thibodeau's delivery, I think. Now, you leave it to the players, and when they talk about Tom, they all love him, and, what he brings off the court and the way that he addresses players and those type of things. But still, even during the game, I feel like Mike Woodson's presence is just different. He's the guy that puts his arm around you and helps you to process whatever's going on the floor. Right? Because Tom Thibodeau's going to scream, holler, and yell, spit in your face. Not literally spit in your face, but while he's screaming, spit's going to fly in your face. Those type of things. He probably doesn't even use breath mints, which makes it even worse. I use breath mints when I coach. I keep 2 or 3 things of breath mints in my pocket because I know I'm screaming and hollering in players' face. I hope Tom Thibodeau does the same thing. But anyway, Mike Woodson is just, it was just that calmness, I think. And so I do believe that it hurt the team in some ways, especially in the playoff series. And he is another guy that I'm sure Tom Thibodeau trusted to help make adjustments. Because the head coach can't make all the adjustments. I'm sorry. It's almost impossible. Because they see the game so much different than everyone else on the floor. Everybody does, from the fan perspective, from the player's perspective, from the players sitting on the bench, from their perspective, the coaches, the head coach's perspective, the assistant coaches, everybody sees it from a different angle. And the head coach needs all of that intel to help make decisions. And when you have somebody who was as experienced as Mike Woodson, intelligent as Mike Woodson, you miss that on the bench. There's no doubt about it. You miss it. So, yeah, I do think that the Knicks missed Mike Woodson in this playoff series. Savvy, you just joining us. What do you think, man?
Oh, man. It's kind of nuts that this is the topic, because, that's been on my mind since the day he left. I was afraid of pretty much this. I was afraid that we would lose a mind that was essential to the success that we had in the regular season. And I didn't want to disturb anything about what we had rolling until the conclusion of that season. That's why, even though I was happy for him, I wish that the timing had lined up so that he could conclude the season with us and then go assume his role, right? My hope at the beginning was that maybe at some point he has a chance to become the head coach here again. But I'm happy for him. I'm glad that he's doing what he's doing out there. But I can't help but feel like he would be able to bolster, to revitalize our offensive mentality at points where it needed a good kick in the pants. And I don't know if Tom Thibodeau is the guy to do that. He's more of a defensive specialist. And even at times where our defense was clicking, we couldn't turn that success into points on the other end. And I feel like he might have come a long way into not only informing our players of how to maintain a stable mentality throughout the playoffs and the pressure that comes with them, but he might have also been able to shed some light on what lesser used players could have brought to the table in terms of making lineups with Tom Thibodeau and being a part of that process of selecting who gets to see the floor and when.
Yeah.
Because one thing, for example, I don't think Alfred would have gone from starting to DNPs so abruptly if Mike Woodson had still been around. I feel like that conversation might have wound up different. I can't help but feel that way because it felt a bit knee-jerk and abrupt and extreme to me. It felt excessive, but that's my feeling on that.
Okay. Yeah. Let me get to this phone call here, and then I'm going to come back around to everybody. Caller, you live. What's popping? Who am I speaking to? Where you from?
Salute. 3 capital S's. This is Jay Boogie, man. I'm calling from down in North Carolina, man. I just want to highly upgrade and salute you and your supporting cast for a marvelous first season that I had with y'all, knowing we got many, many more years to come. And I just want to commend y'all on a great job and everything that y'all done all season long, man. Respect. But just let you and everybody else know this is the beginning of 2021 and 22 season as of yesterday, and we are on our way. Believe and continue to have faith in the growth. We have a foundation laid. We have an office. We have a bench, and we have young players, and we have cap space, and we have all our draft picks. We are in a great situation. I must share that with the entire Sims world right now. I must share that. And to let y'all know, this is a repeat of 2019 to our crosstown rivalry, Brooklyn Nets, when they was in the playoffs, didn't have nothing but young players, and they lost 4-1 to the Philadelphia 76ers out the first round, and they proved to everybody that they had a foundation laid, they had an office in place, and they had cap space, and they built the rest of their team. Our time is on the way. We are immediately pressing the gas for our franchise to be all the way up Fat Joe status. God bless you all. Salute. 3 capital S's. Y'all continue on staying healthy and safe. I love y'all. It was great meeting 2 players on your support cast, Cornerstone and Uncle Fulio. I was able to touch them with a hug, handshake, dap. Those have no meaning at all but to be correctly loved for you, man. They made me feel like a person that was coming home, and I was embraced. God bless you, Sim, and I'm going to continue on supporting y'all. Great season, man. God bless you
J
all, man.
Bug, I appreciate you, man. And yo, you was on all over that Big 15 EP by Dio and Evergreen, man. So it was definitely super dope. That you was all over the EP, and just be on the lookout, man, because we got some things happening, and hopefully you can make it. We're having an MBK family reunion. It's gonna be in New York, but we might try to find a way to tie in all our family that's down in North Carolina too. Even if they can't get there, maybe we can have something set up that's going on at the same time. So we'll be talking.
Yes, if I got a date, my brother, I'm on my way right now. I'm making reservations right now. That's how I'm doing.
No doubt. Well, we're looking somewhere. It's in like September, but I'm gonna have a secure date by the end of this week.
That's what's up, man. I appreciate the invite. I will be there, man. God bless you all, man.
I appreciate you, my man. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, what we might as well do is let you hear a little bit of J Boog and D.O. and Evergreen on that Big 15 EP. And the name of the song that I'm going to play right now is called #Big 15, #We Here. Since J Boog called up, and then, we'll get back to breaking down this season. Take a listen to it, ladies and gentlemen.
This for all the doubters and all the haters and all the fakers. Said we wasn't gonna win more than 20 games and nobody wanted to play with Tom. Look at us now, we 15 strong. Big 15, Big 15, Big 15, Big 15. New York, we here. New York, we here. New York, we here. New York, we here. Big 15, Big 15, Big 15, Big 15. New York, we here. New York, we here. New York, we here. New York, we here. Big 15. New York, we here. Let everybody know New York's in here. Yeah, your team scared when y'all see us on the court, but everybody know the Knicks run New York. No place like the Garden, everybody on their feet. Yes. When Randle at the line, we yelling MVP. The concrete jungle where Rose grew in the Garden. Yeah. Reggie is a sniper from 3 hitting his target. Don't drive to the hole cause Nerlens gon' block it. And once quickly put up a shot, you can't stop it. You can't see RJ Barrett in the paint. Taj on the balls, you better get up out his way. Fourth quarter clutch like Burks for the 3. It's hard for you to score if Peyton playing D. Frank for the kill, Knox for the drill. Obi in the air, 360 windmill. Theo on the bench, got the whole team hyped. And Jared and Pell gon' be the ones to fight. It's New York Knicks, we running the game. That's why everybody in the league remember our name. We yelling Big 15, Big 15, Big 15, Big 15. New York, we here. New York, we here. New York, we here. New York, we here. Big 15, Big 15, Big 15, Big 15. New York, we here. New York, we here. New York, we here. New York, we here.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy Sin with Nothing But Knicks. You are now rocking with the Big 15 EP. We here, baby. Let's go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was D.O. featuring J Boog, Evergreen. Name of the song is Big 15. That's off the new EP. And you can, if you go to my page, you'll see the Big 15 EP linked to, youtube.com/nothing-but-Knicks. Just go to the channel page and you'll be able to see it linked there where you can check out every track that's on the record. It's on the EP. But let's get back. We kind of reflected on the season for the most part. We know about the season. What are we doing moving forward? What's next? I think that's the question that everybody is really concerned about. What's next? How do we move forward? How do we retool this team to come back better next season? It's the big question. Big Bubba, I'll start with you, man. Where do we go? How do we retool?
First of all, what's going on, everybody? Shout out to Andy and Mark. Shout out to Andy and Mark. Savvy. Listen, this is gonna. I think I said like last year or two, that this is gonna be the most important free agency moves in a while, man. I know me, because I don't want to reveal what me and you and Steph talked about last night about our theories and stuff, but I think it's going to be listen, I think people are going to be happy. I think people are going to be happy about the moves that we make this year. Again, I always go to what D Rose said in his interview after the game. And I think we got to really listen to the words that he was saying. And the Knicks are playing in big things. I think they're gonna go for the gusto. You might try to pry somebody away, but it's gonna be really important, man. And this is gonna be really exciting. So, no, I don't want to reveal too much because I know you're gonna have an episode and stuff. But Knicks are gonna be doing big things, man. Big things.
Well, hopefully. I think the first thing they've got to figure out is, how do they proceed with Julius Randle? I think that's the first thing they figure out. Right? They're going to pick up his option. They're going to pick up his option. I'm pretty positive of that. Because if they don't pick up his option, then even if a super trade comes along, you don't have the ability to make that trade. Right? So it only makes sense to pick up the option, $20 million for 2021, 2022. You pick up the option, you open up all abilities to make moves surrounding Julius Randle, and then you figure out, do we want to offer him an extension?
Yeah, I'll be real with you, Sam. I do agree with you. They're going to most likely pick up his option. I don't think they're going to do extensions. I think what's going to happen with Julius Randle is going to be more probably like a prove-it year. Not even a prove-it year. It's going to be a prove-it playoff year. Let's keep it straightforward. It's going to be a playoff prove-it year. So I think they're going to just keep the option going. They're not going to fully extend them because they got to just see how this is with the playoffs.
But see, it doesn't work that way. You pick up the option. The Knicks have until October the Knicks and Julius Randle have until October of 2022. Maybe it's a little bit later with COVID-19 rules and all of that, to execute an extension. If they do not execute an extension, then he'll go to free agency and then the Knicks can re-sign him, but it wouldn't be an extension. So with an extension, they'll pay much less than if he goes into free agency. So see, that's how that works there. You know what I mean? Because the extension can only go up to a certain amount. I think it's 104 million or something over 4 years or 5 years or whatever it is. I don't know the exact numbers, right? But the extension, you'd pay much less. If he chose to take the extension, and if the Knicks chose to offer the extension. Now, if they just pick up his option and then both say, no, the extension ain't going to work, we'll go to free agency, there's a chance the Knicks could be paying a lot more if they wanted to re-sign him. There's also a chance that teams are like, we don't think Julius Randle is worth this money, and we're not going to, they're not going to pay him. Right? So that extension has to be made, a decision has to be made by October or somewhere around there.
Yeah, Sim, I'll be honest with you. I'm leaning towards letting him go to free agency, me personally. I'm letting them do that because you don't want to be stuck. And I get that you're looking at paying him less now, but you also don't want to be paying a guy that's not showing up. Because right now, I go examples. You have the Mavericks right now. You have the Mavericks with Porzingis. They're paying this dude over 100, I believe it's almost $150 million. They're paying him $30 million plus, and he hasn't shown up. You have Kemba Walker that signed pretty much an extension. They did a sign and trade. He got extended. He's not showing up. So now you got these guys that are on these extensions. Yeah, you're paying a little bit less for them, but they're also not showing up when you really need them most. So again, I'm more comfortable letting Julius Randle, accept his option. And listen, if he does good in the playoffs, then listen, I'll bite the bullet. If he does good in the playoffs and he improves, I'm willing to pay him that money. I'm willing to pay him the money versus we just sign him an extension now just to get the cheaper deal, and then we're stuck with him if he doesn't improve in the playoffs. I'll take that chance.
Well, the thing is, you got to be smart. Both sides have to be smart. If I'm Julius Randle, after I performed the way that I performed in the playoffs, I would consider accepting the extension, but I'd say, you know what, but I'm not going to extend it out for 4 years. We'll do something for 2 years. And if I'm the Knicks, I'm like, yeah, let's do something for 2 years. Right? So now I'm paying him maybe $25 million a year for the next 2 years. And he's accepting that for the next 2 years to prove himself in the playoffs. I think there's ways around it for both sides. Andy?
Yeah, because I got a bounce, so I just wanted to, put my 2 cents in this re-signing Julius topic. For one, I think he is going to stall the re-signing process because, for one, he will be liable for a bigger contract if he gets if he gets picked to the all NBA team this season. So he's going to be, and that's going to be a major difference because it's going to be like $4 or $5 million per year that he's going to be able to get more money, right? So I think, and they're going to announce it probably after the playoffs. So it's still going to be before the season starts and before the October date, right? Like you mentioned. So I think if he gets to an NBA team, it can be a second team, whatever. Well, I rather extend them and pick up the team option and then see what's going to happen. And like you said, probably not go that long. But if we have to go even 2 or 3 years deep, me as a team, I just negotiate that he doesn't have a player option or a no trade clause. Because if he's going to stink, we can always flip him. If he's going to have a no trade clause, we're going to be stuck with him no matter what worst kind of scenario is going to be, hitting us as a team. So if I'm the Knicks and the negotiation crew, I'm willing to pay a little bit more money, but that no trade clause is not even on the table.
Oh yeah, and I don't even think he would be close to demanding that. I hope he wouldn't be close to demanding a no trade clause. Man, there's no way that the Knicks can give Julius Randle a no trade clause. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that's something that will be a deal breaker for me at least. So
yeah, there's no way. Before you go, Andy, what about Mitchell Robinson?
That's another interesting topic. I wonder if Tibbs has real big plans for him. Because now, for one, I believe they're going to resign Taj Gibson and he's going to be a real cheap option, right? Then again, Nerlens Noel, for some fans and for some probably coaches, he showed at least a little bit of promise. And he will ask for a little bit more money that he got this year because, a couple of seasons ago, he turned down a, 60, 70, $80 million extension and gambled on himself. We know how that came up, and he was playing for the Knicks for a couple of million a season. So I'm guessing he will want to get a little bit more money. Well, it depends what's going to be the salary and the asking price for Nerlens Noel. If he's going to be wanting like 15 million, I rather pay the 15 million for Mitch than Nerlens. And I know he might not be that much better at this point of the career, but he probably has a higher ceiling, right? You can just try to think and work Mitchell Robinson into and mold him into a player that you want him to be. Meanwhile, when you have Nerlens Noel, I don't think he's probably at the peak of his career. You won't teach him that many things. So if I have to pick between those two guys, probably I'm gonna stick with Mitch. And give him the money. But I'm also not one of those guys that are just gonna throw away millions of dollars. If it's 12 because Mitch said so, then we got to give Mitch 12, right? I'm trying to leverage myself out of any negotiation stock that brings you probably max extensions that these guys would want, because Mitch is not going to be available for like a $20 million contract, right? But in his career and at this point, and he could end the contract and then sign with us as a free agent, and then there's basically no barriers, right? He can ask for 10, 12, 15, 20 million a year. Meanwhile, if we would be extending him, you can only have like an 8% raise from his current contract. He's not going to probably accept a $5 million contract, so he's going to ride out the contract that he has currently.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Knicks decide to do, when it comes to Mitchell Robinson, Nerlens Noel, and, all those guys there. That's going to be, that's definitely going to be...
Yeah, and Sim, just to add to this, I think it's really important, and I think the management has a decision on this. What are they going to do with the picks in this draft? Because, if they are thinking, listen, we can draft these 2 first rounders and get that, one of the second rounders on this squad, we don't have to resign these kind of vets in this amount, right? So they will have replacements. Then again, if I'm Tibbs, I mean, if Tibbs would be willing to play these kind of amount of minutes to rookies or sophomore players like Quickly, Mitch, and Obi, I don't see Tibbs running around with under 23-year-old squad the whole time, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm thinking they're gonna move those picks or just move up and get one rookie, probably maybe stash a pick like the 58, the pick that we have from Philly. Just pick a guy from Europe and stash him for 2-3 seasons. Look at if he's gonna get somewhere, and then call him up to the NBA. And I don't think we're gonna draft 3 rookies on the next season's roster. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think those draft picks are gone. It's just, who and where, right?
Yeah.
Who is coming for those draft picks? I think that's going to be the big question. And are they playing with, you heard what Afro Jedi said or what Stephen A. Smith supposedly said. Guys are reluctant to play with Julius Randle. I'm not sure I agree, but who knows? And the reason why I say that is because Julius Randle became this player. He's been a role player since he's coming to the league. Now, a role player that was constantly on the incline, but for the most part, a role player, for the time that he's been in this league. So it's hard to say whether, whether or not players know whether they like playing with him or not. Then as far as Mitchell Robinson, man, you got to pick up his option and then go from there. Hopefully he can stay healthy next year. But then, of course, the same thing goes with his extension.
Yeah. But going back to the Randle and players not wanting to play with him, listen, if I'm a star on another team and I look at the Knicks, couple of games, right? It's obviously not the perfect situation that a power forward, point forward, whatever you want to call it, is the playmaker, right? But he never played with a, quality, let's call it a high quality point guard, right? So if I'm a star, I'm like, okay, listen, sign a point guard so he can run the offense and he can pick Julius, me, whatever, right? So we can run it in a triangle, basically, whatever. But get us a point guard first, so not every play has to go through Randle, because I wouldn't be happy as a star player to play, through Julius Randle or off Julius Randle, right? Meanwhile, if I could be a better player than him even. So, just to don't cause any rifts, just get us a point guard, and then I can join in, because I know that the offense is going to have a totally different, flow and schemes and whatever. Meanwhile, whatever he was, he never had a great point guard with him. So,
yeah, that's true.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
And then, listen, I got love for Stephen A. Smith, and great journalist. Well, you really got to take a lot of his stuff, because because listen, right? You had one point where D-Rose said there's a lot of guys. There's a lot, like last night, D-Rose said there's a lot of guys that want to play for the Knicks. Like the perspective change. This is a player, by the way, and D-Rose respected by everybody. He don't talk just to talk.
Well, actually, D-Rose also said back when it was him and Carmelo that everyone in the league was saying that the Knicks and the Suns were the two super teams. So he does sometimes talk just to talk.
He got me. He got me there. But I will say that I take what Stephen A. says to a grain of salt, because again, right? I know that I'm not gonna say I doubt players text him right after the Knicks lost and was like, "Yo, we can't play with Julius Randle." I mean,
he said he texts players. He said he sent out a text, and this is what their response was.
Oh, the players said they don't think they could play with him.
Right. He said he sent that out. So, I mean, it is what it is. Who knows? Who knows? But look, if you're Stephen A. Smith and you're a Knicks fan, why you putting that out there? I understand that's your job and you're getting paid. Why you putting that out there? Call Leon Rose and say, hey, Leon, this is what I was told. And let Leon Rose go from there. But,
what, Stephen, I mean, we could talk about, that's a whole different thing about Stephen A. But, I mean, again, I think you got to take a lot of what these guys say to a grain of salt, because I think a lot of things are going to dictate. I mean, this summer, again, we changed the narrative of the Knicks. The players, the coaches, they changed the narrative. So, again, I do think a lot of players do want to play for us. So we're going to find out during the summer. All this, speculation, we're going to find out during the summer.
Yeah. And, let's talk quickly about the rookies. I want to talk about the rookies a little bit. I
see what you did. I see what you did there too. By the way, I see what you did there.
What I did where?
Let's talk quickly about the rookies. Quickly.
Well, I actually didn't do that on purpose. Some of that stuff comes out naturally. But I do need you to read the chat. I need you to read the chat, because I put a new rule in the chat. If you can't stay on the screen, because I'm tired of looking at just Big Bubble across the screen or whoever else. If you can't stay on the screen, you need to have a picture up, or I'm taking you off the screen.
I'll talk about the picture later. I got to figure that out.
You know what I mean? So, either stay on the screen or have a picture up, because, I'm tired of just looking at gray boxes.
All right, man. Gotcha.
So I'm just letting you know that's a new rule. And there he goes again. He goes right off the screen as soon as we say that, Andy. You see what I'm saying? He goes right off the screen.
Hold on. I was trying to figure it out.
Goes right off the screen.
I was trying to figure it out, man. I'm trying to,
Yeah. But let's talk about the rookies really quick. And their performance from the beginning of the season until the playoffs, and how you feel about it. Andy, how did you feel about the performance of the rookies this season?
Well, listen, first of all, as we said it like mid-season, we were thinking that probably Tibbs got the order to play Obi because he wasn't playing really well, and it looked like it's not even a favor to play Obi because it was hurting him to show the lapses, the lack of skill set, orientation on defense and stuff like that. So I'm glad that it evolved in the playoffs for him. And meanwhile, that when he got those minutes on the court, only a couple of minutes a game, right? But you see how much getting minutes on the court gets you experience and gets you your skill set higher. On quickly. I was shocked. I never knew nothing about him before we drafted him. I don't think any fans were like calling his name that we gotta draft this guy, whatever. Probably got on the Knicks roster only because Kenny Payne had the Kentucky connection, and that's how I see it. I'm glad he panned out. We know that he can be a spark plug of the bench. His defense also evolved through the season, and he got a little bit better on it. He's not my kind of of a player, my style of a player. But if you don't have anyone to put on the bench, you can use him in certain situations. So I'm happy they both pan out actually from the first round that we drafted. I'm happy with the draft picks. It could be way worse. So I'm happy with these guys we have.
Yeah. And any change in your thought on Obi Toppin with the way that he performed in the playoffs?
Well, yeah, I see him as a rotation player in next season, but until we have Julius Randle on on the roster, he's gonna be playing spot minutes, and we know how Tibbs likes to run these guys. So from 48 minutes, Obi's going to have like max 10 minutes probably because he's going to be like running Julius top of the league, top in minutes per game of the league. So it's going to be like 38, 40 minutes a game. And, if somehow we can't fulfill or we have injuries on the squad, on the roster, we might see, Julius playing the 5 and Obi playing the 4. Well, they've tried it for a couple of minutes in the playoffs, but I think it's a little bit more of a complicated situation, and he needs to see that in practices and in season games if it's working, if he has to adjust the whole offense because he has those two guys on the court at the same time. But I think, it's with Julius as a playmaker, it's really harder to play him at the center position, right? Because, being a center and being a playmaker for the whole offense, it's a hard thing to do. Even in current NBA, that coaches come up with the wildest ideas. That might be, one of the craziest things that I ever, would see.
Yeah. Them two playing the 4 and the 5 together. Of course, Julius can play small ball 5, and Obi can play that 4 spot. I don't know. He tried it for a couple minutes, but it wasn't anything that he stuck with. And throughout the season, he tried it a little bit, and of course, it wasn't anything that he just felt comfortable playing. I guess.
Because Julius doesn't have the skill set of Jokic, right? If he had that passing kind of ability and just shoot from standing position, maybe that would be a thing, right? But since he doesn't have the skill set of a Jokic, it's really hard to ask even Julius to be that kind of a playmaker.
Yeah. Savvy, what do you think, man? The rookies.
Oh, the rooks, man. A topic to make me smile finally. Well, I gotta say, it's kind of a strange inverse relationship that the performances had. Even though Emmanuel still gave us some good moments in the end, you could see how his performance kind of dwindled as the season got toward its end. And then as the postseason came, he was kind of on and off. He would come in off the bench and give us some life, which I appreciated. But it looks like he just got to polish his game off a little bit more, and he'll be all right. You know, one thing that I would love for him is that more development in what he does in terms of moving off the ball and trying to facilitate without necessarily even having the ball in his hands, the picks and screens that he chooses to set, and the lanes he chooses, the way he makes decisions at the rim. These are some things that I feel like I want to see him develop, and I believe he can, and I think he's going to be a fantastic player going forward. Obi, he started off not as we expected, right? A lot of people were down on him. Some people were completely out on him. I never gave up hope, but I was worried.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was waiting for to see from him was what I saw in the postseason, which is when the time was right, when the conditions lent themselves to what he brings to the table, when his natural inclinations could be beneficial. Now see what he does, and we saw that despite all the pressure and the level of competition, he was still able to make effective impact within his game. And that's all I needed to see from Obi. So now that we know that about Obi, we know exactly what kind of development and what kind of pathway we can have for him going forward. And I feel like that kind of certainty has got to be very comfortable and reaffirming for not only him, but also the coaching staff, because maybe they were as bewildered as we were. But to give Tom Thibodeau his credit, he did always say that he saw what he needed to see in practice in order to keep him in the rotation somewhat.
True. Right. He did always say that. Always say that.
Did say that. I have to give it to him.
Mark, I'm not sure what Mark is doing and where he is, but your thoughts on Obi and the rookies?
Confidence. I mean, they're big game players. They played in college. They played big games. Come from big game programs. Their confidence is what I like. So their confidence, their energy, showing that they was not afraid to play here. The integrity they have for the game. I just wish Tom, going into next year, we need to play fast. For me, for these guys to also flourish even more, we're gonna have to play fast next year, because not scoring on fast breaks, getting easy points. We can't really win games like win games if we don't get fast breaking easy points. So I think Obi, for me, I think Obi should have played a little more minutes. I think Tim should have trusted him a little more and use him a little more, because I just think his game, the speed that he has, can cause problems. His movement on the floor, his energy, quickly. I mean, he comes from Kentucky, so a lot of Kentucky players come with these confidence that you can't teach players, and he fared well. So, and he was very important to what we did this year, just with his shooting, etc. His three-point shooting, which is 39%, but he has to work on his field goals. So, and he has to work on his decision-making a little bit sometimes, meaning when he hits the pick and roll, don't think too much, just, attack if you have it there, or pass it out. I think Obi, in the beginning of the season, the game was too fast for him. That's what I saw. The game was just too fast for him. And as the season wound down, he got a little better with time. But I never denied his skill set. I just think he wasn't put in positions, in pick and roll positions, to use his passing ability and to use his speed. So again, next year, I think Tibbs need to trust him a little more, meaning I need him to go from 10 to 15 to 20 minutes, because I think he has a valuable skill set that should be used in the NBA that can create offense for this team other than constantly giving the ball to Julius Randle, because it showed you that he gets very flustered and he doesn't have the IQ enough to pass the ball when it's needed. So in that case, we need to take a lot of pressure off Julius Randle so he won't go out looking this bad, because it was bad. It was bad to a point where he almost looked scared this whole playoff series. And I'm just judging it off of him not being aggressive. When I seen Capella having the playoff season that he had, that made me mad, because normally in all playoff seasons, he never fails well. He never does well at all. He's either on the bench or he's just playing terrible. And to see Gallo guard Randle the way he did at times, it hurt me, because now I was buying into Randle to an extent. Now I have to see, okay, next year, is he going to come back? Like I said, is he going to come back and do this and a little more smarter in his game? It's not necessarily the stats that he put up. It's how he reads the game that bothers me. That is the thing when I watch him play, Sin. It's how he read the game, and he's a little too slow when if he's going to handle the ball with so much usage. He has to know when to say, this ain't the time for me to jack up shots, which he was doing, and to set better screens just to help the team. I was looking through chats, the body language, man, that stuff, man, it affected the team, because, again, he was the guy for us, leading us to what we did all this season. And I understand it's his first time, but then again, Sim, when you watch Atlanta Hawks, all those guys, it was their first time in the playoffs. So, you know, you have the players of Randle caliber has to change by game, and there was no adjustment to what he had to do.
Well,
a coach don't have to.
I mean, I'm gonna say again, you know, different players have different levels of development, right? We talk about it with rookies. It's the same way as you're developing and going through your career. You know what I mean? Someone like Trae Young may be able to adapt better than someone like Julius Randle, right? Trae Young's skill set, he has more of a skill set than Julius Randle does. You know what I'm saying? So that when teams load up on him or defenses change, you know, he has, you know, so many other things that he can do, Trae Young, as a basketball player, to help him adapt to that kind of pressure. You know, so this is a developmental process for Julius Randle as well.
No, it is. And the thing with Randle, what limits his game so much is that the teams know he's going to come back left every time. The way Atlanta played him, they knew where he was coming every time, and he couldn't read that. And that was the most frustrating thing, me watching him play. He, like I said, he made himself. He's always been a player. I never said that he's a bad player. It was more his playing style that you know. Is it more team oriented, or does he get very black hole-ish? And he went back to the black hole Randle. So I'm saying to myself, it's been 5 games, and not one game where he took advantage of who was on him. Gallo don't have no lateral movement. A guy like with Randle's stature, he should at least bullied them, man. And Sim, he was afraid to go in the paint. All his shots was on the perimeter. He's not a perimeter player, man. He's an in and out guy. And the thing is, for him to recognize, I like when he comes downhill, because when he comes downhill, his decision making is much better than when he's holding the ball for 4, 5, 6 seconds. You cannot do that in the playoff setting, Sim, because now the defense gets tighter.
I agree. I think part of it was, you know, I think part of it was the style of defense that Atlanta was playing was very, very tricky for Julius Randle. He hasn't figured that out yet. Like I said earlier in the season, San Antonio did it and had him confused. He hasn't figured out how to play with this style of defense.
You know what his big problem is? He's not good against athletic bigs. He has trouble with athletic bigs, man. He really does. He has a problem with athletic bigs. Yeah. Going at them,
I hear
he
you.
has a problem.
I hear you. But
so,
look,
like I said, next season, man, we got to get faster. We have to get faster, and we have to get someone that can run the point guard to see passes. Because Derrick Rose is good enough, but he don't see the floor as well as we need him to. Because I've seen too many miss passes that could have been made to get easy baskets from cuts and stuff like that. This playoffs thing I just couldn't believe they didn't destroy Trae Young on a defensive end. It was horrendous to me.
Yeah, it was bad. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do an off-season or a season grade for each player and each coach. We're going to do that early next week, probably Monday of next week, where we break down each player and look at player grades, coaching grades, front office grades, and those type of things. This was just a quick reflection for us to, take what happened last night, take the season, get it all out. Next week, we'll really start looking at grades and really break down each player, looking at their grades. So, but we got a nice future ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen.
Like I said, this season was a success in every way because, again, we got to the 4th seed. No one seen that coming. Our defense went from last to damn near top 10 in the NBA. It was a legit defense because even when we played the Hawks, we still stifled them to an extent. We just couldn't score. So, again, the defense is real. And Tom Thibodeau did galvanize the troops. So, again, the coach did what he needed to do. We just suck from an offensive standpoint, decision-making, and just playing fast. We need to play fast with these young guys. And again, going into next season, what I'm doing, Frank Knox in the first-round pick got to go to a young coming-up player, young coming-up role player that could do some damage for us.
Well, Frank is a free agent. Frank is a free agent, so you're not trading Frank. Yeah. He's a free agent. He's a free agent, so you can't trade Frank. But anyway, let's get some last. He's a free agent.
Oh, shoot.
He's a free agent. You can't trade him. So let me get some last words from you guys, man. I'm going to head off. The Queen's Court tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Then we'll be back Monday as we give some season grades. Think about it for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Think about the grades. Maybe we'll send some polls out there, so we can get what you guys think. And I'll be giving away those Obi Toppin cards to the winners on Monday as well. And I also have a magazine. I have the Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. I bought 2 of the magazines, the Slam magazines. I got one of them that I'm going to give away. Probably going to do that sometime next week.
Get them free, sir.
Anyway, Savvy, I'll start with you, man. Give me your last words.
I want to salute the whole Knicks family. I want to salute Sim for the illest of coverages before, during, and after this historic Knicks season. And it is a historic season, trust me. We'll be talking about this season for some time to come. I want to salute to the panel. I want to salute to the chat. I want to salute to the Knicks. I want to remind people that Julius Randle didn't get to most improved player, through a path of, roses and dandelions and rainbows and sparkles, okay? He got here through the grit and grind, and he heard all those overrated chants. And for that reason, I can't wait to see what he comes to show us next season. So I think we have a reason to be excited. I think we have a reason to be excited about the offseason. Let's go Clippers, right? Right? See what that pick is about. Okay.
We'll see. Well, I mean, we already got I think our picks are set. We have the 19th and 21st picks.
Oh, yeah, because that's based on regular season performance. So it doesn't matter what happens now. I still want them to lose, but whatever. You know what I mean? Go Rookies, go Knicks, orange and blue. Let's get it.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get it. Ian Clark, thank you for the super chat. He said, I broke my TV last night. Now I'm sleeping in the guest room, but I'm still in New York. Yeah, go get you a new TV. Make sure you take care of that guest room, man. And Josh, Uncle Fulio, he said, Knicks playoff failure was, thank you for the super chat, by the way. He said the Knicks playoff failure was the equivalent of getting a random phone call from a girl you really like. She asks you to go out to dinner, then she never shows up. That's never happened to me, so I don't know what that experience feels like.
Yeah, that must have happened to Josh.
I don't know what that experience feels like, Josh. You can explain it to me because it's never happened to me. Big Bubble, your last words, man.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Mark. He took all the talking time. I wanted to say something about
that was my first time talking, bro. You talked twice from when you was in here. I don't talk once.
Time, Mark.
Get off my back.
Oh, man. Anyways, man, shout out to you, Mark. Shout out to Savvy. Of course, you, Sim. I told you last night, man, great job. You and Guillermo all year long. That killed it, man. Again, Sim, you this whole year, man, this is only beginning of the Knicks' success in playoffs. So shout out to you. Shout out to everybody in the community, man, the chat. We've been a family for a long time now. And we've been through some bad times. We've been through some really bad times. We went through Whereby. We went through Skype. We went through all these great things, man. And I'm just excited because I know this is the beginning of a new journey for, MBK and all this stuff. So it's going to be great, man. I know you got a lot of things that's going to be on and popping this summer. And I'm telling you guys, here, there's going to be a Woj bomb. And Sim's going to have to do an emergency pod. And it's going to be big. And it's going to be amazing. But we got a bright future, Sim. We got picks. We got cap space. We got a young core. We here, baby. And we ain't going nowhere. This is only beginning. This is year one. We're going to get a championship in the next 5 years, man.
I hope so. Let's get it. Shout out to JJP. He said, this to you, Mark. And I'll let you finish it off with this in 30 seconds. He said, is Randle better than KP? What do you say, Mark? What do you say?
Listen, man, it's all about playing styles. It's what you like. All I can say is that the dude ain't healthy, so it looks bad on his end, but his playing style I like. Randle's good. I'm not saying that, he ain't a scrub, but I like KP playing style. That's just me. That's why I liked it. This is playing style. Randle's cool, but hey, the injuries is what's affecting KP. I don't think it's his game. Game is just the injuries, and that is a problem. But he ain't here, so I ain't tripping. I don't, it is what it is. But like I said, Sam, keep doing your thing. Appreciate the Godfather. Hope everybody liked the show. Tired of you free ninja watchers. Like the show. Don't cost a dime to like the show for entertainment. We come on here to entertain you guys that are stressed, that are going through things, So, show love, help the dude out. You know what I'm saying? He ain't on the corner begging. He's asking for a like virtually. It don't even take a second to press the button. Isaiah, when you want to talk to me, just say hi. You don't always have to say something negative to me to just say hi. I'm nice. Just say hi, bro. God. When I come on here, sometimes I like to be talked to in a good manner. I don't like to snatch and come at people all the time that I have to. Be nice to me, please. That's all I ask. Just say hi when you see the God. But Messiah out.
I'm out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I am out of here. We appreciate you all. Catch you next week. Queen's Court tomorrow, 5 o'clock. Make sure you're ready.
This is MBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Nick.